Welcome back to DemDMs. My name is Panda Ghost.
I'm Matt.
I'm Fox Ghost.
And today, we're going to be discussing why you should run a Session Zero. So if everyone's ready, let's slide on in. Alright, so first up, what is a Session Zero? For me, it's a good opportunity to get your players together and introduce them to your campaign world, figure out what the heck they're playing, and even one thing I like to do is use it as a time to connect other characters' backstories together.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something that some people do, not a lot of people do.
We don't
do typically. We've done Session Zero adjacent things. Like essentially, we're doing Session Zero without everybody all being together.
Right.
One of the things that kind of I think has kept us from doing it is for D&D specifically. That Session Zero for us, we've already made our characters, so a lot of that, it seems, for me at least, it seems like it could get boring at times. But I think the benefits of having one is more on the DM than the players.
It is,
right?
It very much is.
It really tells the DM, like, okay, I can give them an idea of what the game is about, see if that even interests them, because obviously if it doesn't, then I should just change everything up.
Right.
If you have like certain rules for this campaign that you're going to try out, like, you're banning spells, you're adjusting how certain features work, or
right.
something like that, or somebody has asked the DM for a specific new feat. Like, these are all things that can be discussed and kind of made aware to everybody in Session Zero.
Yeah, and also it really helps, especially I've DM'd a lot for newer players. That's where the majority of my DMing has come from, and it is a lot more helpful for them to get up to speed with how to play. They might have played a couple of sessions. It gives you opportunity to lay down the ground rules with them about things that also, like, as a behavioral thing, like, it's a good opportunity to be like, hey, I don't allow harassment of other players and stuff like that, right? It's always a good opportunity to familiarize the group with what you're willing to tolerate at the table.
And that's something that I think has become a lot more prevalent and concerning in more recent times, which is not a bad thing by any means. But I think for me, like I said, I do Session Zeros without actually calling them a Session Zero, right?
Right.
So I'll have like a one-on-one with the player, and usually I'm only doing that because in that one-on-one I'm talking to the player about certain things that they might not want all the other players to know about. Right. And so I want to have them have that time to discuss with me things that they want to get across, or things that maybe they want me to not rush in for their character, like leave them to fill in those gaps.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we've done them for other game systems. We ran a game for the Game of Thrones RPG, and you pretty much need to have a Session Zero for that game.
You have to.
Because you're doing a lot of creation during that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it can only help you, right? A Session Zero, however you want to do it. And it doesn't have to be everybody all around a table in person. It could be, a conversation over Discord, over the phone, whatever it happens to be, with one person, the entire group, couple of people, whatever the case may be. One good thing is if you have party members that are going to have familiarity with another player's character before the game, you kind of want to give them a chance to sit down and get to know each other's characters. Fox Ghost and I, in Panda Ghost's last campaign, had a very close-knit pair of individuals, and we kind of just sat on the phone for a little bit with Panda and just kind of were like, these are the things we're thinking about. These are the kinds of like characters I want them to be, and like all these kinds of things. And that way we could hash it out without having to be right in front of the players and doing that.
Yep.
As well as have the DM involved in some capacity.
And I will say, there is this stigma, right, against session zeros where, it's going to be boring. You're just going to be sitting there talking about characters and stuff. But when I've run session zeros in the past, I've actually formed, like a little naughty, like a half-shot adventure, low stakes, try to get some RP in there, especially, as kind of like the prequel, like how they got together kind of, episode, right?
Yeah, I think for my campaign currently, I probably could have benefited from having you guys do some of the first session independently one-on-one with me. Yeah. So I was they were all separate at the beginning of the campaign. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of having people, we did it online. So I would have people come with me to a private channel on Discord, and we'd go through what's happening with their character, talk about these different things. And then when they would meet up with another person, they would join together in another channel and I could run with them. But I was kind of juggling all 4 players, and sometimes I'm sure they were just kind of sitting there waiting their turn.
I sat there for like 2 hours, did nothing.
It was really funny, though, when it was Panda Ghost's turn, because we're just sitting there in chat, and all of a sudden, we just see rolls. And it's like, what is going on? Because we're doing this in Roll20, and he's making, I don't remember what the rolls were for. I think they were wisdom saves or something like that.
No, it was stealth checks or something like that.
Yeah, he was breaking out of chains.
Sleight of hand checks, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but, it was like, what is going on?
Yeah, well, so with that as well, I had an instance where you and another character were kind of in the same space as one of the other players, but you guys weren't interacting with that, so I just kind of said, oh, it's this person that looks like this. Little did you know that was the other character that you were kind of just passing by on the street, right? And it allowed for some cool things later on. But, having some sort of like you said, like a half session or a level 0 session to kind of get through some of that might have been a little bit of the better way to go, but I'm still happy with how it turned out, obviously. But, yeah. So, what else can you talk about in a session 0? Like, what other things would you want to have discussed, I guess is the question.
If for first-time DMs out there, this typically wouldn't be something, but for a more experienced DM that's doing world building, it might be a good opportunity to do some lore dumping for your lore nerds out there, right? Or even just like, an opportunity to give a little bit of context for your players' characters, so that they know, like, so they understand what is expected of them, like, in this, make-believe society, right?
It's history class, folks!
Yeah. Let's get the exposition out of the way real quick, right?
Right.
But,
like the general knowledge stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's also occasionally can be used for people to create their characters during a session 0. Correct. If you're going with the idea that your party knows each other, then it's fine to maybe have some, character creation stuff going on in a session 0. I generally would try to stay away from that, because then you're kind of asking your players to think of stuff on the spot, and you're not really giving them the time. Maybe have them create their characters and then come with that ready to discuss, where they're from, all these types of things, if that's something you want to go through, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all I was going to say about that is it can get a little cumbersome, especially if it's, well, I will say, if you're running with new players as well, you kind of want to have that session 0 with them to build the characters, because most likely, if they haven't read enough, they will gonna mess something up.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're like me and your players don't know the difference between a D20 and a D6, it's a good time to go through that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I think, the three of us here, I think we're pretty pro session 0, whatever form that takes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we need to get in a better habit of doing that, but we're starting to consider doing that for upcoming games and stuff like that, because it is a helpful tool. So if you have any other thoughts about session zeros or anything that we've said, leave a comment down below and we'll kind of check that out and see what you have to say. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe, and sneak attack that notification bell to stay tuned to our next videos when we slide into DemDMs. All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.